I've got a class tonight I know you're going to enjoy. It's, I think, in some ways the most meaningful things that I share with people. I also, however, know that this is a somewhat educated group of people when it comes to personal development, spirituality. So I want to ask you a question that kind of has an answer and kind of doesn't have an answer, which is, why are you here? And I'm not asking why are you here in sort of an existential, why are you here? Not that kind of why are you here. I mean, why are you in a workshop or a class to learn something? Why do you think? Now, on the one hand, it's because you're people and you want to be better people. Yeah? You're trying to improve yourselves? Yeah? Okay. So that's why you're here. But that's not exactly why you're here, because I used to go to a lot of workshops, a lot of trainings. I spent 10 years and about $100,000 going to workshops, retreats, buying videos, reading the books, having therapists. So I was learning a lot. But I never really ever truly felt that much better. I had some basic tools to deal with the symptoms. But no matter how much I learned, the same patterns just kept repeating and repeating and repeating. So I think on some level, the reason that we go to these things is not because we're seeking. It's because the things that we're seeking and the answers we're getting aren't helping that much. What do you think? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. That's why I think we're here. So my goal tonight is to give you an insight so you can learn something, so hopefully you can stop coming to workshops and retreats and watching books and videos. That's my goal. Give you an insight so that we don't have to keep coming to these goddamn classes and workshops. Are you with me? Say, I like learning, but I'm tired of coming to these workshops on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. I realize I'm an American and I like the big gesture. I understand that most of you are European. You're like, we're a little more quiet, a little more quiet. One of my favorite things to do is I used to have a German client, and he would have these breakthroughs, and he'd be like, oh, Daniel. Oh, I'm really feeling it. My inner child says, thank you to you, Daniel. I'm like, thank you, Hans. All right, so my goal tonight is to take you from symptom management on a path to liberation. If you want liberation, say, I want liberation, Daniel.
I want liberation, Daniel.
Now, the only reason I know this is even possible, and what I'm going to show you tonight, the way I know what tonight is even possible, the reason I even know liberation is even possible is because I first saw it when I was 17 years old. I didn't know I was seeing it, but I saw it at 17 years old. Because at 17, I had something which I like to call God's horrible sense of humor. I had acne. I had pimples. In French, it's called acné, which sounds sophisticated, but it's the same damn thing. I had pimples. Anyone else have pimples? Yeah. I don't know what God was thinking. I understand a lot of the things that God does. I'd be like, I understand you have to kill some people to make us appreciate life. Some things I understand that I don't even like, but pimples, I'm going to be like, why? 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 We're already going through puberty. Things are really hard. We're already insecure. My voice was cracking. I had to do my bar mitzvah while my voice is cracking. That's already enough of a test. Why did you need to cover my face in infections? I don't know why, but I had acne, and I not only thought that I was sort of ugly, I thought that I was unlovably ugly, which is a whole other level of ugly. I was unlovably ugly. And then I went to college. I was an engineering student at UC Berkeley. Go Bears. And I got to college, and because of my acne and my unlovable ugliness, I was insecure. I was anxious. I constantly cared what people thought of me. I was depressed. I was stressed. And I saw all these beautiful girls away, living alone for the first time, and we were all living like in these little dormitories. It was like a little hookup slave ship. It was like it should have been heaven, but I was too insecure to do anything. So I was sort of kind of a diabetic in a candy store. There was nothing I could have done. And I thought, well, this is my life. I'm unlovably ugly. I've got pimples. I'm going to be stressed, anxious, and alone for the rest of my life. And then I meet this kid, Darren. Ask, who's Darren, Daniel? Ask me. I'm going to tell you. Darren had pimples. And he not only had pimples, he had pimples worse than mine. So I'm thinking, all right, if I'm going to die alone, this dude is definitely going to die alone, probably with cats. And I just thought that that was our fate. But there was something about Darren, and Darren wasn't insecure. He was confident. I cared what people thought of me. Darren didn't give a crap what people thought of me. Nobody liked me. Everybody liked Darren. I was all alone, and I see Darren holding hands with Pippa. Ask, who's Pippa? Pippa was the prettiest, coolest, like, she was the girl that all the guys want. And my head could not compute. I thought, okay, maybe he could get somebody, but the girl, it didn't make any sense. And I went up to Darren. I said, Darren, how'd you, like, what? How? how? He said, what do you mean? I said, how? You've got pimples. I've got pimples. We're supposed to die alone with cats. How did you get Pippa? And he looks at me, and he just says, I just know I'm a 10 out of 10. And I'm not gay, but it was kind of hot. I thought, that's just an attractive man. I don't know what that is. But I got confused because he had pimples. How could he possibly think that he was a 10 out of 10? And I looked at Darren and I said, you've got pimples. You can't be a 10 out of 10. Somebody's a 10 out of 10. It's not you, Darren. I'm unlovably ugly. So are you. And I said, oh, I get it. You tell yourself you're a 10 out of 10. It gives you fake confidence. You know women like confidence, and you tricked Pippa. And he said, Daniel, I'm not faking it. I know I'm a 10 out of 10. And again, I was like, damn, that's hot. But I was confused. I really didn't understand what was going on. And I said, Darren. I still thought he was the crazy one. I said, Darren, my brother. Where did you learn that you were a 10 out of 10? Right? And I'm like high-fiving my imaginary self, thinking he's the crazy one. And he looks at me, and he said, Daniel, yes, Darren, where did you learn you weren't a 10 out of 10? And I went, oh. I just felt just something kind of click in my soul. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew he had said something profound to me, which is, where did I learn that I wasn't a 10 out of 10? And what I saw in that moment was two very, very, very important things that became the foundation for the work that I do. First thing is, we both had the same pimples. We both grew up in the same culture. I was stressed, he was calm. I was insecure, he was confident. I was depressed, he had energy. Nobody liked me, everybody liked him. I was alone, and he was with Pippa. And it all had to be because of this one thing that he thought he was a 10 out of 10, and I didn't think I was a 10 out of 10. That was the first part, that one thing was affecting everything. Second part, this 10 out of 10 thing that he keeps mentioning, I learned it somehow, that I wasn't a 10 out of 10. And if I learned it, this one thing that's creating all the problems, what does that mean? Means you can unlearn it. And the engineer in me was very excited about this, because the efficiency was, I don't have to fix myself. I don't have to clear up my skin. I don't have to be better with women. I don't have to boost my confidence. I just have to locate this 10 out of 10 thing and unlearn it. I don't even have to fix anything or add anything. I just have to unlearn it. So I spent 20 years, first on myself and then working with thousands of people and individuals, to show people how to unlearn this thing that we call a 10 out of 10 so that you can be free of the symptoms. Because that's what Darren was. He was a living example that you could be free of pretty much everything if linked to this 10 out of 10 thing. So that's what tonight is about, is to show you that. It's to show you one thing that's at the root of everything, that's causing everything, and that you can unlearn it. Does that sound good? Now, I know how many of you are thinking, Daniel, that's big talk. Sounds like big talk. How many of you? Big talk? Big talk. If you were so good, what are you doing in a hut in the middle of nowhere, right? I understand it. How many of you thinking, there goes the American with his big claims? I get it. So, I don't want to be another teacher that tells you a bunch of stuff and then you maybe believe a little bit and then you fail. How many of you have had enough of that? I don't want any part of that. So everything that I do, the trainings that I do, the coaching that I do, is based in two principles. Say, what are the two principles, Daniel? Thank you for asking. Principle number one is this is going to be simple and practical. It's not going to, might not be sexy sounding, but simple and practical. And then the other part is that it works. It just works. Doesn't sound cool. It's not sexy. You can't put it on Facebook. Rumi didn't say it. It just effing works. And I want to prove it to you so that you trust me and that you have hope. So what we're going to do is we are going to kind of measure your consciousness right now. And then I'm going to show you an insight. Then we're going to do an exercise where we apply the insight, and then we're going to remeasure your consciousness. And you're going to see that the number that we measure is going to wiggle a little bit in an hour. Are you intrigued? All right. So again, this is one thing that affects everything, but we can't go through everything just in this class. So we're going to look at what's going on through the filter of something that everybody wants. No, not that. Confidence. How many of you want more confidence? Raise your hands. Very good. How many want less self-doubt? How many of you want to feel less insecure? Okay. We'll call it confidence. We're going to look at this through the filter of confidence. And we're going to measure your confidence right now, and then we're going to measure your confidence later. There's only one problem. You can't measure confidence. The reason you can't measure confidence is because confidence doesn't actually exist. I know, it's weird. When we think of some of the most confident people, these are people that are free, fully self-expressed, and fully authentic. There's a group of people that are like this, children. But generally when you see kids walking and they're like, hey, how are you doing? You don't say, my goodness, that child is so confident. You don't call it confidence. You call it free, or maybe you call it a lack of fear. You call them fearless. So there is really no such thing as confidence. It's really when there's a lack of fear. Confidence is a lack of fear. Does that make sense? And the one fear that we can definitely measure is the fear of rejection. The opposite of confident is a lot of fear of rejection. We can measure fear of rejection in the body from 1 to 10. So right now, we're going to measure your fear of rejection. And you're thinking, Daniel, that's great. I love to connect with the feeling of rejection. Awesome. All right. So everybody, if you will, close your eyes. If you're watching online, do the same. And breathe in. And breathe out. Now just think of or visualize a situation in your life that would bring up the fear of rejection for you. Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's at home. Maybe communicating to somebody you love. Maybe getting to know somebody or doing something. Just see something that would bring up that fear of rejection. And really feel the fear in your body. Imagine that situation going horribly wrong, that sort of nightmare situation. Feel the fear in your body. Feel it in your belly or your chest or your throat. Really feel it. And now measure in your body from 1 to 10 how strong that fear is. 1 is low and 10 is high. Just get that number and remember it for later. And breathe in and breathe out. And open your eyes. Okay, how many of you had a fear of rejection number of 5 or above? 5 or above, 6 is above, 7s, 8s, 9s. Yeah, okay, first of all, thank you for trusting me to go there. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8s, and 9s. So from doing this a very long time, the research that I saw, basically if you have a fear of rejection in you of 4 and above, that thing is going to wreak havoc on your life. It's going to keep you from doing a lot of the things you want to do. You may have situations or areas in your life where you're confident and potent and capable. I'm proud of you. But that fear of rejection is lurking, and it will follow you and find you and take you down in one area. Or it'll put you into a comfort zone where you get to be comfortable. Who here likes their comfort? Yeah, but the universe doesn't want you to stay there. So you either get comfort or you get your dreams. So you can stay comfortable. So at that 4, anything above a 4, your life is going to be significantly limited. You might be able to occasionally push through the 4, but it's following you around, keeping you from writing that book, making the money, walking up to that person, going deeper into love. It's going to follow you, and I don't want that to happen. So what I want to show you tonight is a path to not have the fear of rejection, for it to be gone, because I don't want to set you up and just show you a trick. I want you to be completely free of this, so those areas in your life where you're not writing the book, where you're not making the money, where you're not in love, where you're not being fully you, which is I think all the universe wants, it's what I want for you, is for you to be fully you. You are a unique expression of divinity brought to this planet to be God in human form, just my words. And that fear of rejection will keep you from that. And the reason I want to share with you things that work is because all of you here care about growing. God bless you. A lot of the world is asleep and doesn't give a crap about being better people. Maybe they are in your family. I'm not naming names. The point is you want to be better people. And there's a lot of stuff out there that sounds good but doesn't actually help. And it breaks my heart because we're in pain and we're struggling and life is hard. It's like really, really hard. Life punches us in the face and it's hard. And I don't want you to keep trying to grow and build and keep getting punched in the face. I want to help ease the pain and the suffering in your life. Does that sound good? Now, the way I'm going to do that is by giving you a perspective that on some level you may have heard before, but it's going to give you a higher level of clarity. And I hope this clarity will be empowering to you because it's going to give you a little bit of hope that this fear of rejection that has been following you around your whole life, you don't have to have it. And the way I'm going to do that is by sharing with you a perspective that I think you're not seeing as clearly as you could, because I know I didn't see it for about 20 years. But before I tell you something and assume that you don't know this, I want to understand what you already know. specifically around confidence. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions just to kind of gauge where you're at. Okay? Here's the first question I'm going to ask you is why, the first question is, how do you deal, or how do people you know deal with low confidence? How do you deal with low confidence? I'm going to give you 20 seconds to think about it. 20 seconds to think about how do you deal with low confidence. Raise your hand if you have a way that how do you deal with low confidence? Raise your hand. Okay. Would you mind sharing?
I fake it until I make it.
You fake it till you make it. First of all, I'm sorry that I said who has low confidence, and I pointed you and said, speak in public.
No problem.
All right. Fake it till you make it. What does that mean?
So I pretend that I'm super confident.
Pretend that you're super confident
Yeah, until I feel more confident.
till you feel more confident. Okay, on the one hand, it sounds good, but when you fake it, do you actually become super confident, or do you just convince yourself and others?
Yeah, pretending.
Okay, you're pretending. So you fake it till you make it, but you never actually make it.
Depends, but yeah, maybe not to an ideal level.
I understand. Okay, so I get why you would at least try that. Okay. In the areas where you fake it till you make it, but aren't always fully confident, then are there still other areas where you're not confident? Uh-huh.
Of course.
Right.
Kinds of situation when people go around.
Yeah. Okay. So if you fake it and make it in one area and you do pretty well, then you have to do another fake it till you make it in another area.
Yeah, probably. A good example would be career and personal relations.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I can be super successful at work, but still very unconfident.
Yeah.
Man.
That's what I mean. It's not the problem, it's the downside. Okay, thank you. What was yours?
Avoiding situations that make me feel confident. Like I feel I'm generally very confident in most of the situations in my life, but then some of them feel less confident.
So just avoid.
Yeah.
Comfort zone. I like my comfort. Who likes their comfort? How many of you just like see the thing, you're too scared and you just don't act? You just avoid. Yeah, you just avoid. So you're not really dealing with the confidence, you're just being honest of like that you don't deal with it, you just avoid.
Yeah.
Very honest, but obviously not the best business model. Now, if we had the lifespan of a fruit fly, it's not that bad. You know, you live for a month, you avoid some things, not that bad. Unfortunately, we live for like many decades, and then we're going to have regret, and we're not going to get what we want, which is kind of, it's sad, isn't it? What we miss out on. Okay. There's another way that we deal with low confidence. Now, I know none of you would ever do this, but some people, less conscious people that don't know the words namaste, drink alcohol. What? They're not confident and they use a neurotoxin to shut off oxygen to their brain so they can't be afraid, and then they go do the things they naturally want to do. Isn't that crazy? You guys would never do that, would you? No, everyone else is buying the alcohol. Yeah. So some people do alcohol. And also, it's fun. I get why I never used alcohol in that way, but I saw other people do it. And I was once on a date with a woman, and the date was going really well. And I said, well, do you want to... At that point, I was too scared. I was not confident enough to say, do you want to come over? Wink, wink. So I used the trick where my friend, I read it in a men's magazine, like, tell her there's something cool at your apartment that she'll want to come. Oh, you know this one? Oh, you guys fall for it. You know the trick too? So I said, oh, I have these beautiful hand-carved masks. I even made this. She went, oh, I'd love to see your masks. No, I asked her, said, do you want to go over and see my masks? And she said, no. And I said, well, all right. I mean, you know, you try, you fail. And then 45 minutes later, she said, you know what? I would love to come to your apartment. It was like another person. I said, what happened? She said, red wine. I went, okay, I'm not asking questions. So alcohol, and then we also have just the wait till things just get horrible and you have to act and just adrenaline and desperation force you. Okay, again, if you're a fruit fly, great business model. It doesn't work for being an adult because it makes life very messy. Also, not just confidence, but so many things in personal development and spirituality I find are just based in dealing with the symptoms. It sounds good, even if I knew this woman who did a lot of yoga. I'm not disrespecting yoga. I do my favorite pose, which is, I call it laying in bed pose. Very good. I generally do my asana from about 10 at night to 9 in the morning. I'm very committed to my practice. I do snore pose, log pose. And yeah, just one pose. That's how dedicated I am. And she said, "Oh, I do yoga. I love yoga." And I went, "Wonderful." She said, "It saved my life. And now I run a yoga studio." And I was like, "That is incredible." And I said, "What happens if you stop doing yoga?" She's like, "Oh, I'm a chain smoker and I want to kill myself and I'm horrible to my husband." And I was like, "Good talk. All right." So I worked with her. We went to the root cause, and now she doesn't have to do as much yoga. She's much more calm, and her husband is much happier. So I don't want to disrespect the other things, but I do find so many things out there that are helpful for still symptom management. So if we want to get beyond symptom management, we got to understand what the heck is going on. We have to understand, where does this come from? Where does low confidence come from? So I'm going to ask you, where does low confidence come from? Take 10 seconds and think of, where does low confidence come from? Where did you learn that? Oh, you don't need 10 seconds. Okay. Yes, sir.
The emotions of shame that are put on by adults as you're a child.
The emotions of shame from adult in your child. Okay, I do know what you're saying. Partly true. It's got some truth to it. Is there another one?
Comparison with others.
Comparison with others. Okay, one more.
Repetitive failure.
What is it?
Repetitive failure.
Repetitive failure. Okay. So I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to say that's not true, because there's definitely some truth to it, and I definitely used to think that. What people often feel, and I definitely felt this way, is that it comes from sort of the outside. The parents, comparison. How many of you think it's the media? The media perpetuates it? How many of you? Social media makes it worse. The magazines, the images, the incomparable, the images that we can't measure up to. And I used to think that too. And I used to think it was my parents. You know, they weren't that loving, and I had really low self-esteem. My parents didn't love me. I had low self-esteem, and I was like, aha, it's my parents. Yes. And I would love to keep blaming my parents. I wish it was all my parents. Wouldn't it be great if we could all just blame our parents for just everything? If you get pulled over by the police, why were you speeding? Because my parents suck. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could just blame our parents? So I blamed my parents for the low confidence until I saw a word with 2 words in it. It was hyphenated, and the word was, when I was looking at my low confidence, the word was low self-esteem. And I said, I have low self-esteem. It's my parents' fault. Wait a minute. And I looked at it. The engineer in me wanted to know what this was. And I looked at it. Self-esteem. Self-esteem. It's the esteem that I have for myself. And I thought, I don't know what's going on. I can hold my parents accountable for whatever they did that I'm not thrilled with. But how I feel about myself, I can't blame them. They certainly didn't help. But it's me. And the reason we know this is because if it was society or the people on the outside, if that was the truth, the thing is, things that are very, very true are very consistent. If something is really true, it's often very consistent from person to person. For instance, it's true that we need water to live. How many of you drink water to live? It's everybody, right? You don't say, well, in my 20s, I stopped drinking water. No, it's just like, it's consistent. It's true that you don't want to get hit by a bullet because you could bleed. How many of you don't want to get hit by a bullet? Do you know anybody that likes to get hit by bullets? No, it's consistent. So the thing with blaming the outside forces is it's not consistent, because some people, we all live with generally the same media, but some people are way more insecure than others. Have you noticed that? And have you noticed that we're more insecure when we're younger? Same media. But some of the people that don't care the most are old people. Have you ever seen old people interviewed? And they're like, I don't give a fuck. And you're like, wow, that is liberating, Grandma. Same media. They don't care. Also, what people care about. I had a client who came to me, and she didn't like the way she looked. She said she was overweight. I said, well, why do you, what is it? And she said, well, it's the media. The media told me I'm not okay like this. And I said, well, that's true, but I know you, and you're very conservative with your money. You don't spend your money on nice things, and the media tells you to buy lots of nice things. So how come you listen to some parts of the media and not the other? Also, some women, I heard this, that sometimes women don't like the shape of their body because of the media. But I went to a burlesque show in Vancouver about 15 years ago, and the head of the burlesque troupe was this woman, Crystal Precious, who was not a small girl. She was a very large girl with a lot of extra weight, and there was folds in her body. That's how much weight she had. So at the burlesque show, all these thin women went up and danced. We're like, okay, they're cute. And then the final number was Crystal Precious. Crystal came out, not apologizing to anybody. She came out just with the weight jiggling to the song Baby's Got Back. She comes out to Baby's Got Back, spins around, and just is like spinning the fat on her butt. She had pasties, you know, the pasties, little spinny things, not on her breasts, on the fat on her butt. I know this is, and she was just spinning the pasties on her butt fat. So Crystal is part of the same media, and she didn't care. And oddly, Crystal was the hottest dancer, the confidence. Not saying you should go around put pasties on your butt fat. I'm just saying. So if the media tells women certain things, then why did Crystal care so much less? Or at least how did she relate to it? So the point is that between that, if it was true, then we would all act similar to the same media. So it's not as true as we think. It has to do with what I said earlier, self-esteem. It's not about what's on the outside, although that doesn't help. It's about something else. So I need a volunteer to show what it is. Can I get a volunteer? You don't have to come up here, but can I get a volunteer? Can someone raise their hand? Okay. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to show you at the root cause why we lack confidence or where the fear of rejection comes from. Okay? So let me ask you this. What's a behavior that somebody does if they lack confidence? What's a typical behavior that a low confidence person or an insecure person does? Avoid eye contact. Oh yeah, that does make sense. What's something else?
Say negative things about themselves in front of other people.
Yeah. I know that one. That's true. There's another one that I see a lot, and I did this so much. What?
Humor.
Insecure people are...
They make jokes to self-deprecating.
I did a lot of that for many years. The one I'm thinking of that ran my life and took up so much energy was that I really, really cared if people liked me. And I spent a lot of energy trying to get people to like me. Raise your hand if you know that one. Do you know that one? Okay. So we're going to wonder why the insecure person needs people to like them. So I'm going to do a little metaphorical exercise, okay? We're going to have sort of two versions of you. Okay, this version of you, everybody likes. You like that one? You're liked. Everybody likes you. And this one, metaphorical, because you're great. I love you. This one, nobody likes you. Just nobody likes you. Why do you really not like this one? Why does this one scare you? And when I ask you, I'm not asking intellectually. I'm just saying kind of subconsciously when you think of not being liked. Why does not being liked scare you and make you insecure? And why do you like it when people do like you? What do you think? What's the difference? Belonging. Well, it is nice to belong. However, if we don't belong, it shouldn't bring up a level 5, 6, 7 horrible fear in our body. It's a preference to belong, but if it goes missing, it shouldn't scare us. So why does not being liked feel so scary? Thank you. Yeah. What does it mean about you if people don't like you that feels scary? That you're bad. Bad. Bad is scary, and that you don't have value. Yep. That'll feel a lot scarier. If you don't belong, it's not too bad, but if you don't have value. And yes, not having value, or, as you said, feeling not good enough, that's the reason why we want people to like us. Does that feel true to you? Okay. So how many people can see on some level the reason we want to be liked is because we feel not good enough, and we think if people will like us, it means that we're more good enough or we have more value? Raise your hand if that resonates with you. Okay. And that has to do with us, this not good enough belief. So that's the reason, really, that we care so much what people think, and that's what's scaring us, is the belief that we're not good enough. But that's not actually the scary part. Because if I said, well, you're not good enough, that shouldn't actually feel scary. But it is scary. And it's an important part to understand your inner mechanics of why not good enough is scary. And it's because in all of us, we're all born and we all have an operating system. All of you have an operating system. You have software of the self, or as I call it, selfware. We all have selfware. And some of our selfware we're born with. We're born with baby selfware. And the baby selfware tells you, you know, when you're hungry, cry. And the little thing where if you put the finger in the hand, which always creeps me out, by the way. I know it's like just babies, but when you do that and they grab you. So, you're born with baby selfware. Now, a baby doesn't know much, and when you're a baby, you don't know much, but you kind of know you can't feed yourself and you can't protect yourself. You know that. And you need mom and dad to feed you and protect you and keep you alive. So if you're a baby and you feel good enough to be loved and mommy and daddy stick around, you feel like you're going to live. You're going to feel safe. Well, how is a baby going to feel if a baby feels not good enough to be loved and the person that keeps you alive is going to vanish? How's a baby going to feel? Like it's going to effing die. That's the problem, is that if our subconscious triggers anything not good enough, or as I call it, not enoughness, the not enoughness instantly triggers this abandonment, I'm going to die feeling, which I call baby death fear. That's that 8, 7, 8, 9 feeling, that feeling when you want to go do something or be authentic and you're like, that's not enoughness triggering the baby death fear. But I want to prove it to you. I know this is just theory, but I want you to feel it in your body. I want you to feel that the fear of rejection that we're all hiding from is actually not enoughness linked to baby death fear. So I want you to close your eyes. Baby death fear. Just a little phrase I made up. Baby death fear. It's a little bit more playful than existential vanishing trauma. So close your eyes. And if you're watching, do the same. Breathe in and breathe out. And draw your attention to your body. And now see that situation from before where you felt the fear of rejection. And feel the fear of rejection in your body. Just kind of feel what it feels like. Now breathe in and breathe out. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Now see the scary situation again. And see that deep down, part of why you're scared is that you think if things don't go well, if people don't like you back or love you back, it's proof that maybe you're unlovable or not good enough for love. Now silently say to yourself silently, I'm not good enough. And notice that on some level, that feeling, that horrible feeling, feels a little bit like, oh my God, I'm going to be abandoned and die. Just feel that horrible I'm going to die feeling. And now compare that feeling to the feeling of rejection. And now compare that feeling and compare it to the feeling of rejection. Compare the two feelings. And raise your hand if the feelings felt similar. Okay, open your eyes. Keep your hands up. Look around. Okay, put your hands down. So, the first thing I want you to understand is that you're not alone. Everybody, and I've done this a very long time, is walking around with some form of I'm not good enough for love. You may not call it that. You may not even say it to yourself. Maybe you call it there's something wrong with me. Maybe it's I'm broken. Maybe it's I'm bad. But there's something saying that there's something quote unquote wrong with you that disqualifies you for love in the subconscious. Consciously, you may have very high self-esteem and think you're great and wonderful, and I think that's fantastic. Unfortunately, we're not our conscious mind. We're also our subconscious mind. Now, it's kind of depressing to know that you've got not good enough in you linked to baby death fear. That's bad news. Are we all in agreement? It's bad news. So the good news is because we can understand what the heck is going on. Because if we want to be liberated from something, if we want to be free of something, we have to know what the heck is going on. If we say, I have low confidence, it's a misdiagnosis. It's not really what's going on. We have a fear of rejection. But even that's a misdiagnosis. Because what is rejection? Well, rejection is if the world doesn't like or love me, and then I make it mean I'm not good enough, and then that triggers baby death fear. That's what it is. So congratulations. You don't have a confidence problem. You have a not good enough problem. Connect to baby death fear, disguised as a confidence problem. I'm going to give you more bad news and then give you a little bit more good news, okay? The not good enough linked to baby death fear, it's not just confidence. It's pretty much everything. I've been doing this a very long time. I've helped addicts, people with suicide, depression, broken marriages, you name it. If a human being has struggled with it, I was able to help them be free of that by healing the not enoughness. It's literally everything. And the reason I want to share it with you is because of the gift that Darren gave me, this one thing affecting everything. Because right now, when I didn't know this, I was running around trying to fix like 5, 6, 7 things. Anxiety, confidence, my bank account, how to talk to women, how to deal with my parents. It was all this stuff. And then I realized it was one thing. So if we can see that it's one thing and then address that one thing, we can be free of multiple things. It's just more efficient. So I want you to understand why not enoughness is at the root of everything. So first of all, not enoughness says there's something in you that's not valuable, it's broken, or nobody cares. So that's already going to create some problems, because if you're in a relationship, there may be parts of you that you want to share, but you'll be too afraid because you think that part of you maybe the person doesn't care about. But also you have baby death fear, which just creates the fear of rejection. So what happens is, the universe doesn't want you to have this. The universe wants you to know that you're good enough to be loved. The universe made you, and the universe made you perfect. And when we say, I'm not good enough, we basically tell the universe, hey, universe, I know that you have a really good track record. I know you created the oceans and rainbows and baby smiles and chocolate sprinkles and almost everything beautiful. I know you created that universe, but guess who you messed up on? Yours truly. You blew it, God. You blew it. And God is like, I don't think I blew it. I think you're confused. So you're out of divine law. The universe wants you to be a unique expression of divinity. And when we say we're not good enough and creates all this fear, we can't be that gift the universe wants us to be. So the universe will never tell us this explicit. The universe generally talks to us through feeling. That's how they get our attention. That's when we do things that are good or in alignment with who we are, it feels good. Feels good, which is almost the same spelled as God. When you're in alignment with God, feel good. I feel like I just did a highly religious scene from Sesame Street. I don't know if you, do any of you know Sesame Street from America? It's always very sort of, good, God, good, baby death fear. All right. So I believe that the universe makes our life very difficult and will create enough pain until we face this. So a lot of the things we think we're struggling with is actually the universe just trying to get our attention because we don't listen in the beginning. So here's what happens. If you think you're not good enough, basically now you need the outside world to make you feel good enough. But now you're going to be insecure. You're going to care what others think about you. It's going to create low confidence. It's going to create self-doubt. And it's going to create shyness. All those words are just code for not good enough. Then, if you don't wake up from that, you're going to feel insecure, and then you're going to get into relationships. We all want healthy relationships, connected relationships, but guess what? Now you're afraid. You're afraid to be fully you. But what are relationships based in? Connection, authenticity, and communication, which we can't fully do because what we think is inside of us isn't good enough for love. You can't share freely, but also you're petrified to be left because it'll make you're not good enough. So the unsatisfying relationships, the unhealthy relationships, the heartbreak just is a release of baby death fear. Somebody leaves you, you make it mean you're not good enough, it releases a big dose of baby death fear, which we call hurt or heartbreak. But now we're afraid to get hurt again, so we don't go into relationships again. So it will generally ruin your love life. Then also, if you think you're not good enough, now you need the outside world to look a certain way so that you feel good enough. But now you're freaked out. Well, what if it doesn't look right? So it takes a lot of stress to worry. I hope people like me. I hope I keep my job. I hope I have enough money. I hope I do this. And we're constantly thinking and thinking, and it creates a lot of stress. Worrying, making sure that the world doesn't reject you. So a lot of stress comes from this, a lot of anxiety, a lot of the insomnia, a lot of the overthinking, which is the brain just spinning and spinning and spinning, trying to make the world look safe so you can feel lovable. It'll lead to anxiety, trauma, and panic disorders. But then, when we feel not good enough, generally we don't have the courage or the ability to go after exactly what we want. Partly we're too afraid, partly sometimes we do what others want. So what happens is we don't always do what our heart wants. We do what's either safe or predictable or gets us validation. So we're not being nourished. And what this will lead to is that you're not as motivated to do the things that you love. It can lead to fatigue and boredom, sabotage, and procrastination. Procrastination is often because you're doing things that you don't really want to be doing. The reason you're doing them is partly because you chose them because the not enoughness kept you from what you really wanted to do. So it's hard to be fully fulfilled with not enoughness in your body. And then what happens is you're going to be stressed from all the stress. Then, if we're not nourishing ourselves with nourishing relationships or nourishing work or hobbies, we get exhausted, and we're not nourishing ourselves, and that's what leads to depression. So what I'm showing you here is basically this not enoughness is lurking, and if we don't get to it, the universe will create more and more painful scenarios to make us feel worse. Yes, sir?
Yeah, just making it might be a counterpoint. I hope it's not a spanner in the works, but I'm just thinking about this idea that that we are conditioned from birth to want to be loved. I mean that's physiological, but I think like it's also cultural. And then we're thinking about what sort of a person that you can be, what sort of success you can be, and all that thinking. Like, what if all of that is absolutely inverted, and the whole idea is that you are here to serve others, and when you actually start serving others and you have that empathy, and you actually care not about whether they love you, but that they can see the mirror of their greatness, because I think everyone needs to be reminded. I know that as a teacher, like just kids, when you encourage them, it just goes so far. But I'm just sort of thinking if you spun it the other way. So if you've got empathy, you're sort of connected to the collective will, and I think that means that you break out of that individual kind of paradigm, and then you find all sorts of allies and helpers. It is kind of like a godly sort of quest, and you have some sort of Joan of Arc kind of madness with faith, like just being absolute. And so I just wanted to put that there, and I'm wondering if the insecurity stems from a physiological need as a child. I wonder if this self-empowerment comes from the future in some sort of respect.
Well, partly I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
However, I do sense that if one is able to connect to something higher through service or something, would this be able to sort of bring them?
It mitigates the need for other people to love you, I think, because you find that when you love others, or when you're deeply concerned with others, the force of love moves through you, and therefore you are kind of loved as well. It's that vibration, and then I think when there's a real connection, I sort of think that there's some. Like
Well, I can't argue with you because I'm sure there's some truth to what you're saying, and it feels true for you. I guess what I'm saying is even if you do that, there are ways to raise us up and make us feel better. And they work. Even if you meditate and you connect to something higher, you're able to feel better. The key is it's generally temporary. And even if it's not temporary, if you have this deep belief that almost every human does, that you're not good enough, that's still wreaking havoc in your nervous system. So even if you're able to do this, which is wonderful, this is still looming.
I think it's on a continuum. I don't think it's so temporary. I think it gets some momentum at some point, and that's my experience anyway for the last month. But
Okay. Well, then, if you're able to...
talk to you about it afterwards or whatever.
Okay, well, if you're able to do something that makes it so that you don't have any fears
I
of
don't think it's me that's doing it. It's kind of like through me it's kind of happening.
Okay, well, if you can do something for you, however you define it, such that you have no subconscious healings or wounds and you have no fear of...
There's issues for sure.
Oh,
But
okay.
that concern is definitely not primary. It's
Okay.
the other
Well,
part.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Keep going.
Thank you.
And this is meant not to kind of tackle every single thing. What the reason I think what I does is helpful is it takes very complex things and tries to make it simple. Because when things are simple, sort of like a gym, you have power. Sometimes things have value to them, but they may not be simple and practical and allow. So I try to make things simple. In the simplicity, it gives a certain clarity and power, but it also means it's not including everything. So I'm trying to create this simple model that this not enoughness thing linked to baby death fear is wreaking havoc. But I want you to see it. I want you to understand it. So let me ask this. Again, the point is not to share that not enoughness is the problem. You guys already know on some level that not enoughness is an issue. You probably already know about it. It's not about that. It's about understanding that it's really at the root of almost everything, and then it's not getting the attention that it deserves. So I want to ask you a few questions, okay? Raise your hand if you understand that something in your life that isn't working, some pattern that you can't break, something that creates some pain in your life. Raise your hand if you understand that on some level, at the root of that, is linked to feeling not good enough. That on some level, whoa, look at that. Look at the hands go up. All right, so you get this. This isn't new to you. Okay, now raise your hand if you are focusing on the not good enough at a high level. Raise your hand. Well, if not enoughness is at the root of these things, and I appreciate your honesty and awareness to see that, it would stand to reason that we would sort of maybe take energy away from all the things we're doing and focus on that root cause thing. So my question is, for those of you that know that not enoughness is at the root cause thing, how many of you are making that your top priority with your spiritual energy?
Who is trying to fix the self-esteem directly instead of the other problem?
How many of you are, if you've got 100 units of spiritual personal development focus, how many of you spend 70% or more on the root cause of not good enough?
So focusing on the problem instead of focusing on the solution, you mean?
Yeah, basically.
The cause, not the symptom.
Right. And the answer is most people don't. We know about the not enough. We understand it's at the root cause. You didn't need me to tell you that, but we don't focus on it. And that's the part that got to me. And I think the reason is because we're not sure exactly how to upgrade it. I didn't know how to upgrade it, then I figured out how to upgrade it. But that's the part I want to focus on. Not that not enoughness is a problem, that it's the root of everything, and then we're not focusing on it. And the reason I want to point it out is because if we're not getting to the root cause, then we're dealing with the symptoms. And if we're dealing with the symptoms, one, we're not getting what we want faster. We're in more pain than we need to be. But then also we go and we try and we do something and we get a little boost, and then we fail, and then we beat ourselves up. Does anyone know that pattern where you try to do the thing and then you can't do the thing and then you beat yourself up? So that's the point I'm trying to raise. And that was the gift that Darren gave me, that this one thing is at the root of everything, so focus on that one thing. So the downside is, the bad news is not enoughness and baby death fear are at the root of a lot of stuff. That's the bad news. Agreed? Bad news? How do you say bad news in French?
Mauvaise
Mauvais
nouvelle.
Mauvaise nouvelle? Always sounds better in French. So that's the bad news. Now, if you and you and you and you and you, if you are not good enough for love, that will release baby death fear in your body, and life's going to be hard. How do we know? Your life can be hard. If you're not good enough. If you are not good enough, life is going to be hard. If. And if you're not good enough, life will continue to be hard for all the reasons I stated. If. Can I get a volunteer? Can I get a volunteer? To show you something? I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer. Thank you. All right. So, for you to be not good enough has to be real. In other words, some human has to theoretically be not good enough. And if a human can be not good enough, then maybe you're not good enough. But let me ask you a question. Can any human be not good enough? Is that even theoretically possible?
Well, depends for what.
Can any human, is it even possible for a human to be not good enough for love? They're not allowed to have love. Yeah. No. It's not even possible. For you to be not good enough, it presupposes that a human can be not good enough. But not good enough isn't real. You may not have someone to love you. There may be traits that you do that people don't want to be around, but every single human is allowed to have love. There's nothing that disqualifies you from love. But that's how it used to feel, that I was broken. There's that murderer, Charles Manson. He had girlfriends when he was in prison. If anyone should be disqualified from the love game, Charles Manson. Also, Hitler had a girlfriend. Try that on. So if you ever look in the mirror and be like, no one will love me, somebody loved Hitler. That should be my new sitcom. Somebody loved Hitler. Also, feeling not good enough feels very real inside us. It feels real. I used to feel real. But yet we don't use the words not good enough for love very often. Have you ever been hanging out with a friend and you say, oh, how did the date go? And the friend says, oh, I don't think I'll call them back. Why don't you want to call them back? Because I saw inside their soul, and I found their soul to be not good enough for love. Has anyone ever heard that mentioned? No. For those of you who have left a relationship, when you left, if the partner said, why did you leave me? Well, I got to know you. I finally saw in your soul, and your essence is in fact disqualified for being loved. Have you ever thought that? No. And that's because it's impossible and it isn't real. Also, if you're going to say that you're not good enough, it means that you can somehow measure who is enough. So if you're going to say you're not good enough, when I said I wasn't good enough, that means that somehow I went on Google, I did a search, and I said, what are the global European Union standards for an enough human? And then I entered my a blood sample, my credit card, my 23andMe, and then they officially came back and said, Daniel, you are officially... No, it doesn't exist. So if we don't know how to be good enough or not good enough, how can we be not good enough? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Also, if we're not good enough, then it supposes that there's the enough people and then the not enough people. So, like, where are the enough people hanging out? Like, where are they? What are the enough people up to? Are they on Instagram? Are their cars faster? Are their smiles bright? Like, where are the enough people? And then where do all the enough people hang out? Do we get put on an island? Where are the not enough people? Do you see what I'm saying? It's not real. And it's not real because it's made up. It's a made-up belief. Now, on the one hand, you may know this. But on the other hand, when I felt not good enough, it felt real. I remember turning to a friend when I was about 25, and I said, I think there's something like wrong with me. I said, I think I'm broken. And he said, what are you talking about, Daniel? I said, I don't know, but I truly, honestly felt broken. I wasn't being dramatic. It wasn't hyperbole. I felt truly broken. So consciously, you may see, Daniel, that makes no sense. But subconsciously, on some level, we truly believe. And what I want to share with you is it's just completely made up. And it's made up because we make it up. When we're younger, some love and safety goes missing, often from mom and dad. They did the best they could. Often some parents give some types of love, but there's lots of types of love. And generally some types of love, such as listening, acknowledgement, safety, time, some form of love will go missing. And as a kid, you get a little scared and you freak out. And you're like, what's going on? And you don't know what the problem is. But when you're a kid and you're scared, you want to know what the heck is going on. Why has the love gone missing? Why is mom and dad acting like that? Now, in reality, your parents did the best they could, but they were limited. That's why the love went missing. But you didn't know that. You didn't know to kind of hold them accountable and sort of blame them. So if you don't know it's them, who are you going to blame? Yourself. Now, in reality, you didn't do anything wrong. You were just a kid with some limited parents, but you didn't know that. And you want to blame the not enoughness on, you want to blame the missing love on somebody. So what you do in that moment to give yourself an idea of what's going on, to have a plan so you can work on it, you tell yourself subconsciously the reason the love went missing is because I'm not good enough for love. And you make it up in that moment. You literally just make it up, and that glitch goes into your self-aware. But you don't remember doing it, so it goes in there. Raise your hand if you sort of understand that maybe a few experiences when you were younger, you felt scared or unsafe, and you maybe accidentally blamed yourself, and that's where you came up with the not good enough belief. Raise your hand if you sort of understand that. Exactly. You already know this. Okay.
What also makes it a thing that you can be in control over?
It makes it something that you can be in control over?
You believe that you can control, as opposed to sometimes parents are limited. Nothing you can do about that. Move on. You're like, if I can fix myself, then I will get love.
It makes you feel like you're in control. Absolutely. Because if you're small and scared, you feel out of control. And yes, absolutely. It gives you a sense of control, that you know what to do now. Now I'll work on me. Now I'll fix me. Now I'll figure out what's wrong with me. Absolutely.
But it's also that kids, they think that the universe is turning around them, so whatever happens is because of thanks to them, and as an adult, we learn to understand that it's slightly different.
So here's one of the benefits. If you can really see that it's a lie, and I help people with this, because right now you're aware of it, but it's hard to remember because it's in the subconscious. So I'm not just going to leave you hanging. I'm going to show you how to sort of upgrade that glitch in your self-aware. But I just want to show you the importance of seeing it this way. If not enoughness is a lie, if it's made up, then any other lie based on the original lie is also a lie. Does that make sense? You got the main lie, and then other little lies will pop up around the original lie. And if this isn't real, then these other lies aren't real. And I'm going to give you an example of this. When we feel not good enough, we want now that feels uncomfortable. It feels scary, and now we want to feel good enough. So we all come up with certain strategies to try to make ourselves feel good enough, and I call these the bonus features. For me, when I was a kid, I didn't get a lot of emotional warmth or appreciation from my parents. I thought I'm not good enough, and then I found out one day that I was funny. I went into a dinner party, and there was all these adults, and remember when you were a kid, hanging out with the adults, you felt really cool and almost a little bit special? So I walk into the room with all the adults, and I had read this little joke on a popsicle stick. And I'm 5 years old, and I walk up to the head of the table, the host of the dinner, and I walk up to him, 5 years old, and I put my wrist over him, and I said, "You're under arrest!" And the whole table stopped, and the forks dropped, and everybody started laughing. I thought, oh my God, this feels like love. And in my brain, the part of me that felt not good enough to be loved, I said, if I can make people laugh, it means I have value and I'm lovable. Now, it's not true. I was already lovable. I was just getting attention for being a cute kid with a bad joke. But I created this idea of a bonus feature. We all have bonus features. This thing that we think we need to be enough. Or lacking the bonus features. If I don't have the bonus features, it means I'm not good enough. And all that's a lie. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay? Before, when I felt not good enough, I thought it was a problem that I wasn't taller. I had a taller friend who was 5'10". I was like 5'6". I was tiny. And I thought that I wasn't tall enough to be lovable. That's what I believed. Okay? Do you know how tall you are in American measurement? Do you know how tall you are? 6'1". How tall are you? 6'1". Okay. So in my reality of not being 6'1", I thought I wasn't good enough to be loved. And if I was tall, 6'1", then I would be good enough to be loved. So I'm going to fact check. I thought I was not good enough. You're tall, which means in my logic, I'm unlovable. In your 6'1s, it means that you get nonstop, high quality, all you can eat love all the time. Is that true, sir? No. No, it's not true. It's not true. Is there something that you thought you had to be or look a certain way to be more lovable?
Of course.
What was it? Can you tell me one?
Well, I can't describe exactly what it is, but just to be something to everybody. Like, that I had to be my best self to people or something.
Okay. I get that one.
Like, I was an only child of only children, for example, so I had 5 people and I was their whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they all loved me so much, but I had to be something to everybody.
I understand.
If I wasn't how they wanted me to be.
Do you remember one of those somethings you had to be or just something to them?
It's hard to...
Did you ever think if I could be funnier, it would make you more lovable or valuable?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. So you had that one. You thought if I could be funnier. Okay, so I'm going to tell you.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Right. So I'm going to tell you. I was world-class funny. I was a world-class comedian. I am pretty funny. So in your logic, if you had this humor, it should be constant, nonstop love parade. And I'll tell you, not true.
It was constant.
Is there a woman here who thinks if she was taller, it might make you more lovable or valuable? Any woman here think if you were a little bit taller? Any woman here think if you were a little bit shorter? Okay. You're not tall. So according to her logic, you're shorter. Is it true that being short means you get constant, nonstop, high quality, all you can eat love? Is that true? It's not true. So the voice that says if I was shorter I'd be more lovable, not true.
But it's not all or nothing, it's probabilistic. It's probabilistic.
What does that mean?
So it's not that like if you're short or if you're whatever better thing, you automatically always get love. But you might get love a higher percentage of the time if you're like extremely beautiful.
So you're saying if you're extremely attractive you get...
I'm saying bonus features like increase your probability of success, but I'm not disagreeing that not having bonus features affects your ability to be loved. But
I see.
you can affect your probability.
I think it can affect your probability to get attention. because definitely more attractive people get more visual attention because there's a value and our eyeballs go and they have a certain value that might get people to approach you and get more opportunity. So you might get more opportunity, but attractive people, and I know a model, and it's not nonstop love. She gets heartbroken, she gets codependent relationships, she gets some attention, so if you look better, you do get more attention, but it doesn't lead to any more love than anybody else. It's kind of freeing. So if you want lots of eyeballs or you want to be a supermodel, yeah, you have to look a certain way. But if you just want love, you don't have to look like a supermodel. It's kind of freeing, right? All right. Now I'm sitting here saying that not good enough isn't real. How many of you knew on some level that not good enough isn't real? How many of you sort of already knew that? Right. Nothing new. But even if I say not good enough isn't real, we still subconsciously kind of believe it, right? It doesn't just update. So I want to give you an insight to help you feel, a short-term insight to help you neutralize the not good enough. Now long-term, I want to completely upgrade that out of your system, but I want to give you a beautiful insight to help you begin to feel more good enough, okay? So when I felt not good enough, my bonus feature was to be funny, and I thought I had to be funny to be lovable. I thought I had to. Now being funny got me attention. It's true. But it didn't get me love. But I thought I needed to be funny to be loved. And this was about 15 years ago. And I met a woman online, on Craigslist. That's how old I am. This is before a lot of the dating sites. This is before we would find love on Craigslist. It was just like 5 years after we would send messages with carrier pigeons. That's how old I am. So we had a date, and it was a really good date. It was a very rare first internet date. And she was quite pretty. And I'm not making this up. She did stop traffic. She had this Marilyn Monroe look, and she could stop traffic. And between she being quite beautiful and me being, I'm okay, but I'm not that, I thought there's only one reason she's with me. It's because I'm funny. If you think I'm funny, then maybe I'm a hot guy, but it must be because I'm funny. So about 3 months into the relationship, we were hanging out at my apartment, and I made some stupid, silly joke, and she went, "Huh, you're actually kind of funny." And I thought, kind of funny? Lady? Like, I'm really funny. I'm a professional effing comedian. Like, what? And then I got freaked out. I went, "Wait, you don't think I'm funny?" She went, "Not really." And I'm freaking out. And I honestly looked at her and I said, "Well, why the hell are you with me?" It seemed inconceivable because I thought the only reason anybody would be with me is because I was funny, because it didn't occur to me that I could be lovable. And I said, "You don't think I'm funny?" And she said, "Not really." And I'm freaking out. I'm like, what, am I being punked? Am I in the Matrix? Like, what is going on? And I was confused, and I looked at her and I said, why the hell are you with me? And she said, "Well, on our first date, from the second I met you, I just felt good around you. I felt kind of safe." And I said, "Huh, okay." And then she said, "And do you remember what happened on the first date?" I said, "Well, we hung out, we went out, and then we went back to my place, and then we fooled around a little." And she said, "Yeah. And then while we were fooling around, I told you that I had to leave." I said, "Right." And she said, "Do you remember what you did?" I said, "I probably just let you leave." She said, "Yeah." And I said, "And your point is?" She said, "Well, when you're a woman, but especially when you look like me, men don't always just let you leave. There's a little bit of pressure, and sometimes it doesn't feel safe. And in that moment, when you were just being you, I just felt good around you, and that's why I'm with you." And it was a small thing to her, but it was profound for me, because what she communicated to me was that there was something just about me. My soul, my essence, is just something that matched with who she was, and it made her feel good. It wasn't that I was funny. There was just something about me that she liked, and that was so profound, because I realized there was a me in here that didn't need to be funny or smart or have nice clothes, just a me. And then I went to one of my friends, and I said, "You'll never get what she said. She said that she's just with me for me." And I'm freaking out, and I turned to my friends, and I thought all my friends were with me because I'm funny. And I turned to my friend Matt, and I said, "Matt, tell me you're with me because I'm funny." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm funny. That's why you're my friend, right?" I'm just freaking out. He said, "No, I said, but you think I'm funny, right? He said, I mean, yeah, sure, you're funny. I said, that's why you're with me. And he said, no. I said, why are you with me? He said, I mean, I like your point of view, your perspective, the way you see the world. The funny's a bonus, but I don't need it. And again, it was small to him, but it was so meaningful to me that there was just a me in here that other people loved without doing anything extra. So I want to share with you what actually makes you lovable that's so simple you might even miss it. Can I get a volunteer? Can I get a volunteer? I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer. Thank you. Okay. Can you come up just a little bit closer so I can see you? Okay. So I want you to think of your best friend or a really good friend. Can you think of a really good friend for me? Okay. So I'm going to ask you really simple questions and just see what comes up. I'm going to ask you a question that has many answers, but I'm looking for one particular answer. What do you like? Why do you choose that friend? What is it about them?
Many answers, but most of all is that she's there when I need her, and I can laugh with her and I can cry with her.
So she's there when you need her, laugh and cry with her. Now, I don't doubt that those are wonderful things. I get that. But there's an even deeper reason why you choose her. It's so simple we sometimes miss it. So what's the most basic core reason why anybody hangs out with anybody?
The same reason that you just explained, because I feel good around her,
You feel good.
and I feel that she feels good around me.
Right. So that's it. That's why we choose the people we generally spend time with. It feels good. Yes, our friends and the people we love have great qualities, but at the end of the day, you feel good around them. If you start to feel yucky around a person, you basically leave. So we choose the people that we choose, add it all up, I feel good. And we like to feel good. Okay, so next question. Why do you feel good around her specifically?
Because I can be myself around her.
That's true, and that will feel good. But why her specifically?
Because we have the same vibe. I don't know.
Well, that's pretty much the answer. I'll say it in my language. I'll give you a clue. We like them. We like the people that are like us. We like the people that on some level have similarities to us. Now, yeah, opposites attract, and sometimes you have different things, but we said we have a same vibe, a vibration. There's a similarity. And so we're us, and we have a frequency and a vibration. And when we get around somebody else that has a similar vibration, it's like I get to be me, woo, 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 bounces off them, woo, 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 bounces back to me, woo, 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 and I get to experience my vibration, my authenticity through them. It's like you're playing the same music. Now, it's okay to play music by yourself, but if you can play the same music with somebody else, you get a higher experience of music. But it happens when two people are playing the same music. So the reason that you like her is because she has a frequency and a vibration that matches your frequency and vibration. And when you get two matching vibrations, we get this resonance, and that resonance feels good. That's the feeling of love. It's just a lot of resonance. You don't actually love her. You love the feeling you get when you're around her based in that her frequency matches your frequency. Make sense? So now let me ask you a question. How valuable is it that she has a frequency that matches your frequency so you get to experience yourself? How valuable is that? It's very valuable. And how rare is it that you find somebody that you really, really, really vibe with really deeply? How rare is that? Is that common or rare?
Rare.
It's rare. I'm going into like kindergarten mode. It's rare. So what do we call something? There's an English word when something is incredibly valuable and incredibly rare. What's that word? Precious or priceless. Priceless, like beyond price. Can't even put a price on it. So on some level, your friend, because her vibration matches your vibration, is priceless. Yeah? Now let's say she walks up to you and she said, "Oh, somebody left me." Does that change her vibration?
No. I
It-
just want to hug her.
You want to hug her, but does it change your vibration?
It changes for her, it changes the vibration, but it doesn't change the vibration that I feel, how how I
Right. That thing that you find valuable in her is not changed. It doesn't go up or down. If she's super successful, makes a lot of money, does that change her core frequency?
Well, if she doesn't call me anymore and just, then probably yes. But apart from
Her
that,
core frequency. If she makes a lot of money and super successful and lots of people like her, does her core frequency that you love, it doesn't change. So she's just as valuable. If she's unsuccessful, nobody likes her, same. So what makes her valuable, her frequency, doesn't go up or down no matter what happens on the outside world. Her value is her frequency, and her value makes her priceless.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If that's true for her, could that maybe be true for you? Mm. Not good enough tells us this horrible lie that we lack value, that we're fundamentally unlovable in some form, and that we have to go do extra stuff to make ourselves lovable. And if people like us, it means we're lovable. If people don't like us, we're less lovable and less valuable. It's how I used to live my life. But now what I live in and what I want to share and remind you of is you are all born with a frequency, your unique essence, your unique expression of divinity. It's you. Some people won't vibe with it. Some people it won't match. They won't want to be around you. But for the people that match you, your frequency, your essence, you're priceless. It's more than having value. You are priceless. And if the world doesn't like you, or you're not successful, or you don't look a certain way, your value is your frequency. And your value is fixed. And you're priceless. How many of you like that idea? It's kind of beautiful. Because what happens in the world is sometimes when we hear about not good enough, people walk up to you and say, "That's not true, you are good enough. You're incredible." How many of you have had friends that tell you how incredible you are, and part of you is like, fuck off, I feel like shit. It doesn't go in because the not good enough is so strong that if you just try and put perfume on top, it can't penetrate. But if you go in more precisely and realize not good enough means I lack value. But I do have value. I have inherent value based in my essence. It quiets that lie. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take everything that I talked about tonight, and we're going to do an exercise where I'm going to have you visualize everything I said, and I'm going to kind of blast you with all the truth that I brought up. Now, this is not how I help people. These are not the trainings that I do. This is not how I coach people. But when I have trainings and I coach people, it takes more time. And I told you that I would prove to you in a short period of time. So we're going to do kind of a proof of concept exercise that we can do in here. Okay? So if everybody could sit up. All right? All right. So, close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out. Now I want you to see the situation from before that would bring up the fear of rejection, and see as best you can that the reason it would feel so scary is because if something doesn't go well, then you might say to yourself deep down, "Oh God, it's proof I'm not good enough." And when you see something that makes you think you're not good enough, it's going to release a big dose of baby death fear. So that fear of rejection feeling you're maybe feeling right now, it's not because somebody can reject you. Nobody can reject you. Nobody can actually hurt you. What can happen is that someone can do something, you make it mean you're not good enough, and that'll release baby death fear. That's what you're feeling in your body, the baby death fear. But in reality, nobody can hurt you or reject you or make you feel not good enough, because not good enough isn't even real. It's made up. It was made up when you were young. Some love and safety went missing, probably from your parents, and you got confused and told yourself it was your fault. But it wasn't. In reality, you were enough to be loved. They just couldn't give it to you. You were already enough to be loved back then. So if you're enough to be loved back then, then it means you're enough to be loved right now. So nobody can make you be not good enough. They cannot like what you have to offer, and you make it mean you're not good enough, but that's you doing it to you, not them doing it to you. In reality, nobody can hurt you. You are in complete control of how you feel. And this is easy to remember if you remember to see that your value is your frequency. As long as you have a frequency, you are valuable and you are priceless to the people that match you. And that value can't be taken away from you. Your value is fixed. If somebody does like what you do, it just means there's a match. If somebody doesn't like what you do, it just means there isn't a match. That's it. Nothing more. Your value is your frequency, and that will never change, no matter what anybody does. Okay, with your eyes still closed, keep seeing the scary situation, but now measure in your body from 1 to 10, where 1 is low and 10 is high. Measure the fear of rejection. And get that number and compare it to the number from before. And with your eyes still closed, raise your hand if the number went down. Okay, keep your hands up. Open your eyes and look around. Put your hands down. What does it mean? Come on, the nerd in me thinks that's so cool. What does that mean? What does that mean for you? Why is that helpful? Well, the world outside wasn't any different. Same media, same unkind people. Your past was the same, and you look the same. Nothing's different. And yet you're more confident, and your fear of rejection went down. So that means that you can just be confident without the outside world being any different. That's where I live now. I used to try and feel better about myself by changing the outside world and getting people to like me. And again, if you live the lifespan of a fruit fly, it's not a bad idea. So I worked really, 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 really hard, and I got somebody to like me. And when they liked me, I said, aha, I am good enough to be loved. Sounds like a good plan. Does anyone know the downside of the plan? They can leave. That's the downside. You spend a lot of energy to get people to like you, and then people can leave you. Or you can spend a ton of energy trying to get the outside world to look a certain way, to get the clothes a certain way, the car, the bank account, whatever it is. You can get the world to almost look the way you want, so you can then tell yourself, see, I do have value. But then guess what? The world changes. And it's really stressful because now you got to maintain all this. So what I want you to understand is that we have this base level self-aware in all of us. We all have self-aware. You have self-aware. And we have this glitch, a bug in our self-aware, this not good enough glitch. And at least in the case of confidence, this is what's causing it. That's why the number went down. So you don't have a confidence issue. You have a not good enough. You have a self-aware issue. But also, if you have anxiety, you don't have an anxiety issue. You have a self-aware issue. If you're having trouble finding love, you don't have love issues. You have a self-aware issue. If your relationships are sometimes unhealthy or unfulfilling or codependent, you don't have codependency issues. You have a self-aware issue. This gets in the way of the money you make. You don't have money problems. You have a self-aware issue. It's all one thing. And I know that because, again, I used to be so insecure. So insecure. Unlovably ugly. I spent 15 years trying to be a comedian so people would like me. And it never worked, and I was stressed and anxious and insecure. And I constantly cared what people thought about me. And now, I really, truly don't care. I used to think I was unlovably ugly. And now when I look in the mirror, I don't care what I see. I just think I'm just the most beautiful person in the world. I really do. I look in the mirror and I'm like, God, I feel beautiful. And it's extra impressive because I'm getting older. I'm getting less physically attractive, and I feel more and more beautiful every day. That is a cool matrix flip. Like, look at this. I don't have a chin. You know, like some women, I like a strong chin. I'd like any chin. Look at that. I am missing a body part, and I look in the mirror, and I just feel beautiful. And I have this one tooth, this like funky tooth that's making, I don't care. I really don't care, and so I'm free, and I have this consistent calm in my body. But I never tried to be calm. I just upgraded the self-aware. The not enoughness is gone. And so I'm sharing this with you not because you don't know this, but to bring clarity, to let you know that whatever you're struggling with, if you see it through the filter of upgrading your self-aware, I'm telling you, you can be free of this. What do you think about what I'm saying? Any questions about what I'm saying?
One tricky question.
Yes.
And I think it's making my mind also challenging everything, but sometimes these uncertainties and this fear of being not good enough actually makes us being better people, like growing and becoming stronger and getting more successful and working harder and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we know that in a way if we get this feeling of I am good enough, that we just stop, trying.
Stop trying. So you're saying that not good enough has a value because it motivates us and we become successful.
Yeah, for some people in some situations.
I understand. Yeah. My entire comedy career, I was almost a very wealthy, successful entertainer based in not enoughness. No argument from me. It took 15 years to become a master in my craft. You know why I did it? I went down every night because I thought if I was funny, a girl would like me. So trust me, I get it. So the first thing is, I was successful. I had a certain level of fame. I had the attention. I had the money. I had the car. It all worked. Ask me if I was happy. You know the answer. So there are very successful people based in not enoughness. Most of the money made is based in that. Almost every rock band that ever started was from white guys trying to start a band so they could get attention. Yeah, a lot of stuff is done, but those people aren't happy. It's a cliche of the famous successful person that's an addict. So it doesn't work. But also the question of does it motivate you? Well, fear is a motivator. The fear of rejection or towards validation is very strong. It's linked to baby death fear, very strong. So the thought is, well, if I get rid of that, will I be motivated? So I work probably as much as anybody I know. But it comes not from fear. Because now that I'm not driven by validation or fear of rejection, what do? I do what I love. I do what I'm passionate about. Now I'm in alignment. And when you're in alignment, you just go. Have you ever seen kids that go out and play in the snow? And it's like 8 hours later, like, 1 more hour! And they're just so in it and alive because they're in purpose. They're in alignment. Like, I can do this 2-hour talk, no problem. It's not fear, it's joy. So there is a fear, oh, if I don't have it, then what am I going to do? I get it. And that's the ego's way of trying to talk you out of doing it. It's a trick. I get it, but let me tell you, I ask anybody. I work more than anybody. And I don't burn out. There's no procrastination. I love what I do. And I was able to get here because I'm not chasing validation. I do what I love. And it's a beautiful thing. So it's an excellent question. Any other questions? So, I basically said you got this not enoughness, self-aware issue, and that you want to upgrade the self-aware. Any questions?
Maybe one more.
One more question, yes.
It's also a tricky one. So when we were making this exercise on understanding that I can actually be good enough to be loved regardless of what I do, just for my essence.
Mm-hmm.
How, basically in the situation when you have someone who is with you because of your frequency, and then this someone decides that, your frequency is not good enough, or, something changed, so the person leaves you,
Mm-hmm.
then it means that you were not good enough, or like how do you treat this?
Well, it's a good question. You're saying, well, what happens if my frequency isn't good enough and they leave?
Yeah, or something changed and they leave. In this moment they like you
Right.
because you are
Yeah.
the way you are, and tomorrow not anymore. So
Right. So, well, the key is you said my frequency wasn't good enough. See, when you feel not good enough, when somebody leaves, you make it mean I'm not good enough for love, which is this
Yeah.
deep wound, which is linked to baby death fear. That's the problem, this deep lie. What we want is, oh, they left me, so maybe our frequencies didn't match. You can be sad. but you don't want to make it mean my soul is broken and not allowed to be loved. That's the lie we're avoiding. Or you can say, I did some behaviors that drove them away. Okay. It's better to say I have some behaviors or I lacked skill and mastery in relationships. That's healthy. Be appropriate and accountable. Versus they left and then you rewound and say, because I'm not good enough for love. That's what we're trying to get away from. It doesn't mean that the world's always going to like you and life is still, the question is when things come our way, we don't retell ourselves this deep lie. And when things don't go well, we don't retell the deep lie. If someone doesn't like me now, I may say, I wish they liked me. A little sad. I remember the first time I started using this technology. When I didn't know this, my first love broke up with me when I was 24 years old. She left. I made it mean I'm not good enough, and I was wrecked. Heartbreak. 2 years of my life was over. And I spent 2 years trying to figure out what happened. And I neurotically was writing a letter to her. 2 years, I'm not making this up. I wrote a 60-page letter to her that had footnotes. You know what footnotes are? These like little things at the bottom of sort of college dissertations. That's how long it was. My friend said, Daniel, you cannot send your ex a 60-page letter. And I went, you're so right. So I took it down to 30 pages. The point is, I was asking, why do I care so much? And the reason I realized was I felt broken. When she left, I made it mean I'm broken. And this 60-page letter was to prove it wasn't my fault. Killed me. I did this work on myself. I used the toolkit on me. And then I remember I had a girlfriend leave me. And she was gone about 24 hours later. I thought, it's kind of sad. I liked her. I kind of miss her around. And I kept waiting for the heartbreak. I kept waiting for this wave of psychological terror and violence, and it just never came. And the beauty is, one, I didn't have to go through that hell again, but two, now I'm not afraid to get hurt. So when I enter relationships, I'm free to love. My heart is open. I'm not afraid to get hurt, which allows my relationships to be more successful and go deeper. So
It's because you separate the wound of not being good enough and your habits, behaviors.
it's not that I separated. What I learned is, and what I train people in, is you upgrade it out of your system. It's gone. That's kind of the cool part. It's just gone. You're like a child. Yeah, did you have a question?
Yeah. How do you tune into your frequency? How do you truly know what your frequency is?
Well, there was a request for you to speak louder.
Yeah. So how do we tune into our frequency and really know our frequency?
How do you know your true frequency? Well, it's a good question. So the short answer is you already know how to do it. Do you have any friends? Are your friends here? Like right now? She's one of your friends. Okay, hold on. What's your name? Runa? Runa. And what's your name? Venetia. Okay, I'm going to talk to Venetia real quick. Hey, Venetia. This is Runa. So I've got this crazy idea that everyone has a frequency, and we like. So Runa said, how do I activate or know if I'm in my frequency? Which is, I'm guessing you saying, like, I want to make sure I'm doing it. So, Venetia, do you like Runa's frequency and her vibration? Do you feel good around it? Have you ever seen her not have a frequency or lose it? No. So you'd say she's pretty consistent with being herself. Okay, so I did a little bit of research on your behalf. Based on this particular data set, the thing that you do that she likes to be around, you're very good at doing already.
So she knows my frequency, but I'm not quite sure I know my frequency.
She knows your frequency, but you don't know your frequency. I understand that. But you asked, how do I do it, which presupposes you think you're not doing it. And I'm letting you know you are doing it whether you know it or not. You are you. I can feel your frequency now. It's nice. You're welcome. Are you trying? Do you know your frequency? No, you don't have to. Isn't that easy? Look at kids. Look at the way kids operate. They're doing almost everything we want. They're present, they're authentic, they're joyful, they express their needs. It's your default state. We know this is our default state. That's what alcohol does for people. It numbs the fear and all this stuff and the not enoughness voice, and then people are authentic and open and joyful. You don't have to, it's not like you drink alcohol and then take a class. How do I find my essence? It comes out naturally. When the fear drops, the essence comes out. And the reason I like my model is we're not trying to improve you or teach you. There's nothing to learn. What gets in the way between children and now is we have this glitch in our self-aware. If we update the glitch, everything gets easy. Now, when you say you don't know your frequency, one, you don't have to know it. It's just there. But B, when we feel not good enough, we think we're not enough for love. It doesn't occur to us to honor that we have this frequency that's like priceless and valuable. We're so used to beating the crap out of ourselves and telling I'm not good enough, and right, that voice is so loud. So the idea that just you, without any success, any extra, any bonus, just your soul is divinity in action. It's so simple, but it's profound. And when we upgrade the self-aware such that not enoughness isn't poisoning you, I just sit in this space. I just assume everybody likes me. I know some people don't, but my assumption is I'm like a child, and I'm like this. It's freeing. And I think what we all want is to be two things. I think we want to, well, three. I think we want contentment. We want to be content, which you can be. When you upgrade the self-aware, you don't need the outside world so different, and you're just content. But then also you're free. That's what the exercise showed you. Without the outside world being any different, you feel better. That's freedom. And that's what I want to give people an access. I feel very free inside, very alive. And even as I get older with my no chin, I just think I'm beautiful. You guys think that he's an arrogant American. Well, maybe so. Now, there is a question you should be asking, which is, well, how the hell do we upgrade our self-aware? Are you curious? Because, like, what's the point of me bringing you all this way? Being like, upgrade your self-aware. Bye, everybody. That's not helpful. How many of you would like to know how to upgrade your self-aware? Okay. So, like you, I figured out that there's not enoughness, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm bad, or I'm broken. I knew this was swimming around in me. I read a bunch of personal development and spiritual books, and they use words like low self-esteem, and I kind of understood it was with me. But then I didn't know how to address it. How many of you know, even before you met me, that not good enough, low self-esteem, not loving yourself was an issue in your life? Right? We all know it. So I knew it. And then I looked around, the engineer in me looked around, and I saw literally nothing that really, truly worked. There were some things that dealt with symptom management, gave me a pep talk, so I did affirmations. I did some things, and there was a surface level shift, but nothing truly deep. So I developed an inner technology for myself to upgrade the self-aware. And it's based on this basic principle. Not good enough is a lie, right? It's a made-up story, right? It's a lie. It's not true. Yeah? We all in agreement? Okay. Now, some people, if you ask some people, hey, why do you feel not good enough? They'll say, well, when I was younger, my parents did something, and that's why I feel like crap. How many of you, some level, think the stuff your parents did is why you don't love yourself? Raise your hand. Right. Now, there's some truth to that. They did some unloving behavior, and we made up not good enough. We made up the lie. An understandable lie, an innocent lie, but we made it up. But just because you learned a lie when you were younger doesn't explain why the lie is still here. So even if your parents were in on the original lie, we're adults. We're still believing the lie. And the lie is even getting worse. Have you heard the lyrics of, like, love songs? They're super codependent. It's like, when you left, I died. What the hell is that? If you're dying when someone leaves you, you are codependent. So the lie is getting worse. What is that? A lie should update. When I was younger, I was 5 years old, and this kid walked up and he said, I know what clouds are made of. And I said, you do? He said, yeah, my dad told me clouds are made of cotton candy. And we were like, sweet. So then when the fog rolled in and these clouds came in, we all went, nothing. We were like, your dad's an effing liar. And he was a liar. And guess what? None of us still believe that clouds are cotton candy. They're made of unicorn tears, of course. No, the point is, just because you believe a lie when you're younger doesn't explain why the lie is still here. A lie should update over time with reality. So why do we still believe the lie? Well,
Very deeply.
well, yeah, kind of, but there's a little bit more than that. And it's what the it is. A lie, for a lie to stay alive, a lie needs fuel. You need to retell yourself the lie, right? That's what propaganda is. You hear something enough times, you might start to believe the lie. But I already said, I never looked in the mirror and said, Daniel, you are not good enough for love. A lot of you believe you're not good enough, but you generally don't look in the mirror and say, I am not good enough. So if the lie needs fuel, where the hell are you telling yourself you're not good enough? And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie? So when I was 32 years old, I was in Mexico and I was at a nightclub. And at that point in my life, I was 32 and I felt not good enough. And my way of trying to feel good enough was by trying to get women to have sex with me. Now, I know none of you would ever use the opposite sex as a way to validate the hole inside. I know you would never do that. But I was doing that. And it wasn't working. And I thought, well, maybe if she's like prettier, maybe that's what I'm missing. So I finally had sex with like an actual model. Didn't work. So then I thought, well, maybe she has to be like talented. So I'm at this nightclub in Mexico, and they have this big, beautiful Moulin Rouge cabaret show. And the lead dancer comes out. She's very beautiful. She's the lead dancer, and my ego said, her. Like, if I could have her, then that'll prove I'm good enough, and I'm all excited. And I didn't think much of it. And then after the show, I'm out on the balcony, just hanging out, and she pops up right next to me, and I'm trying to play it cool. We get to talking. I say something. She looks at me. I'm not making this up. She writes down her phone number, back when people would write on paper, and she put the phone number in my hand, and she said, you call me tonight. And my ego just went, I'm going to be good enough. And I was so excited, and I ran in, and I saw my friend there, and I said, guess whose phone number I've got? And he said, that's great, man. I'm really happy for you. And I was like, I know. He's like, why are you so excited? And I said, it means I'm not broken. He said, wait, what? I said, it means I'm not broken. She wouldn't pick a broken person. It means I'm not broken. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know. I'm not good enough. And she must date only the good enough guys. And as it came out of my mouth, I went, oh, my God. That's it. If I think I'm not good enough, and I think she can make me good enough, just by the fact that I think she can make me good enough, means I just told myself I'm not good enough to be loved to begin with. I'm going to say that again. If you make a choice based in I'm not good enough, which is me seeking validation, if I think she can make me good enough, I've just told myself I'm not good enough to begin with. Therefore, even getting what I want wasn't raising my self-esteem, it was actually lowering it. That's why what I was doing felt so horrible, because even when it was working, I was subconsciously telling myself I'm not good enough. Do you see what I'm saying? And the engineer in me went, oh my God, this seeking validation. If I think others can make me good enough, I've just told myself I'm not good enough. That's the source of the lie. And the engineer in me went, oh my God, where else am I doing this? Because that was the hidden thing, the source of the lie. And I found that there are 6 ways that we accidentally, subconsciously make decisions based in not good enough. And that's what reinforces the not good enough. Do you want me to show you the 6? Yes. Okay. These 6 choices are called the hurting choices. I'm just going to call them out. I just want to show you. They're called the hurting choices in my curriculum. The hurting choices. I'm going to go through them. I want you to recognize them. So here's the idea. If we feel we're not good enough, we're either chasing validation to feel good enough, or we're avoiding rejection, which basically means avoiding feeling not good enough. We're all in agreement? Okay. So, hurting choice number 1 is what I just talked about, validation. If you think other people can make you good enough, you've just told yourself you're not good enough. How many of you like to be validated? Raise your hand. How many of you like to be liked? Get your hands up. Yeah. Feels good when they like you, doesn't it? You're like, yeah. That's the rush of feeling good enough. It's a very soothing feeling. You get a rush. That's why it feels so good. Some of the incredible feeling of falling in love is because your soul is saying, whew, you are good enough. Okay. Now, the rest are to avoid the fear of rejection. So imagine there's something you want to go do. Write a book, tell someone how you feel, start a new business. But then you think, what if it doesn't go well? And it means I'm not good enough. That'll scare you. It'll bring up the fear of rejection, the fear of failure. You don't want to go do it. So to avoid it, you will judge yourself. You will attack yourself and say, I'm not smart enough, nobody wants to write my book, no one wants to date me, I'm a fuck-up, I'm a screw-up. You will beat the crap out of yourself to give yourself an excuse not to move forward. Anyone know what I mean? Where are my judges at? Where are my super judges? How many of you beat the crap out of yourself on a regular basis and can't stop? What? What's up, judges? What? Have you ever wondered, why am I so hard on myself? Part of why you're so hard on yourself is you're strategically doing it to avoid fear of rejection. Good news is you get to stay comfortable. Bad news is you made a choice based on not good enough, Now you feel not good enough. Next one, and another way that we don't go towards things where there's a fear of rejection. Avoiders. Where are my avoiders at? What? Avoiders. Also, yeah, avoiders. And the way you avoid but hide your tracks? Excuses. Oh, yeah. Who likes a good excuse? Huh? Now's not the right time to start my business. I'll go talk to that person when there's a better time. Really? Really? So excuses allow you to avoid the possible fear of rejection. Good news is you're comfortable. Bad news is you just told yourself you're not good enough. You played yourself.
Sorry, how is it different from the second one?
Well, it's in some ways they're all similar because you're avoiding rejection. It's just refinement in certain behaviors that we do that we don't know are rooted in this. So a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm such an avoider, or why am I so hard on myself? And it's giving clarity that the reason you're doing that is partly to avoid the fear of rejection. So they're similar. They're just refinements. So avoiders. Okay, here's another one. There's something out there, especially in love and relationships, maybe opening up, or maybe something happens, feels scary, you don't want to get hurt, aka rejection. So one way we avoid the fear of rejection is that we control things. Where are my controllers at? Yeah, control things, also known as perfectionism. And how do we do controlling? There's a little thing we do. We make up rules. What do rules sound like? Should. I should do this. They should do that. Really? They should? If you look at a lot of your rules and your shoulds, you'll see that those things subtly often keep you comfortable and safe. And the things you think people should do often are the things that make you feel validated and enough to be loved. Where are my controllers at? Who likes their rules? Huh? Should? How many people think they should? How many people think you should? Okay. Next one, especially around love. Okay, if you feel not good enough, you don't want to open up because then the person's going to see inside and see that thing that makes you not good enough, which will hurt like hell. So you will be guarded. Where are my guarded people? Are people who put up emotional walls? What? Yeah, keep them out. If they can't get in, they can't hurt you, right? And the final one, this is for people. You're not going towards the thing, but you're not avoiding. You're just stalling. Just stalling on the edge. And how do you do the stalling behavior without admitting? Overthinking. Woo! Yeah, right? Overthinking. There's something you want to do, but it might bring up the fear of rejection. You don't want to run, but you don't go towards it. So you start thinking about, what should I say? What should I do? Maybe I should do it. Maybe I should do that. And you just get to hover on the edge and not feel. Because where does overthinking take place? The mind. There's no nerve endings in the mind. So you can just hide in your head for years and decades thinking of a perfect plan. Keeps you comfortable, but every time you do it, you're reinforcing the fact that you're not good enough to be loved. I think this is so cool. The rest of you are like, Daniel, this is super confronting. Now, I got more bad news. I want you to upgrade your self-worth. I want you to feel good enough. The problem is when we do these hurting behaviors, two things happen. One is we're not very proud of ourselves. When you're attacking yourself or attacking others, avoiding, controlling, guarding, stalling, and wanting everyone to like you, are you proud of yourself? No, it doesn't feel good. I mean, you'll do it, but you're like, this isn't the best me. And it's hard for you to feel good about yourself when you're doing these low vibration behaviors. Now, technically, you are good enough to be loved, but you don't feel that way because you're doing really kind of like janky behavior. So you see yourself doing the ungreat behavior, and then you go, oh, look, it is proof I'm not good enough. Another thing is that when we do things like seeking validation, attacking people, avoiding, controlling, guarding, the good news is we get to avoid and we protect ourselves. We protect ourselves from the fear of rejection. But if you're protecting yourself, what's the downside? You're disconnecting. You're disconnecting from what you want, the love, the connection, the intimacy, the money, the success. If you're in the comfort zone, you don't also get the good stuff. So what happens is we have all these avoidance tactics based on I'm not good enough. Then we make these hurting choices, but then we don't get the good loving relationships we want. We don't make the money we want. We don't get the success we want. And then we sort of look out into our lives and we see this not great results, and then we subconsciously say, well, see, of course, it's because I'm not good enough. And we re-wound ourselves. So what's happening is that our thoughts create actions, and the actions reinforce the thoughts. And it creates this loop, this never-ending loop in your subconscious, a never-ending loop of self-loathing, which I call the figure hate. This is the figure hate. This bad boy right here. This little loop, this diagram, this is what's causing all the problems. It's not the not good enough. It's the reinforcing loop. It's very hard to update. And the reason that personal development and spirituality sometimes fails us is because either they focus on the thoughts and they try to make you feel better about yourself, which is good, but it's this very fast-moving loop in your subconscious. Or personal development tries to improve your behaviors, tries to have more courage, put yourself out there and go do it. They're trying to push you. But then the subconscious thoughts are also in there. So this loop is very hard. In fact, it's pretty much impossible to upgrade. You can again, do symptom management. Now, the one good news of this is that you can be compassionate for yourself. Many of you have patterns that you can't break. And you know they don't work for you, and they know they hurt your life, and you can't break them. And right now, you see that you can't break it, you do it again, and then you beat yourself up and go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I know this doesn't work for me. Why am I ruining my life? How many of you have thought that? Okay, I absolutely get it, but what I want to tell you is that's the figure hate loop running in the background. It's not enoughness, linked to baby death fear, spinning, and it's been spinning since you were a child, and you don't know you're doing it. So is this destructive to our joy? Yes. But it means you're not broken. It doesn't mean you're bad. Doesn't mean you're weak. This is a very powerful loop that hijacks everybody, including myself. And I'm going to help you upgrade it, but I want to let you know when you repeat those old patterns, you kind of have no choice. You're a poorly programmed robot with a nervous system. So sucks, but you're not broken. Nothing wrong with you. Life can be better. So have some compassion for yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just a victim of the figure hate. Now, how do we flip this around, right? Because it wouldn't be very nice if I turned to you and I said, hey, you have an impossible to stop never-ending poison supply in your soul. Good night, everybody. That wouldn't be very nice of me. So how do we turn this around? Well, I help people with this, and over time, with mastery and skill, you can shift from hurting choices to another set of choices that'll get you what you want. So you have the hurting choices, which we just looked at, but then for every hurting choice, there's a healing choice. Woo! So I'm going to list off the healing choices so you can hear them. And you're going to like this list. This is a good list. Oh. All right. So, for every hurting choice, there's an opposite healing choice. Instead of validation or being liked, you can just choose to be authentic. Just be you. Now, the point is not that these are some innovative ideas. The point is that with skill and awareness mastery, when you're making a hurting choice, instead of repeating it and re-wounding yourself and keeping the old software, with awareness, you can shift to the healing choice. So just to be clear, I'm not sharing this list with you because you don't know these things are better, but with awareness, you can switch to the healing choice because these tools are meant to be very simple that you can do in the heat of the moment. There's a lot of personal development out there that sounds good, but when you get really scared and your old patterns come up, you ever notice you forget everything you read in the book? So this is meant to be very simple so you can do it in the heat of combat. So opposite of validation is to be authentic. Opposite of judgment and attacking yourself and other people is to be compassionate and loving and curious. Instead of avoiding and making excuses, which is the hurting choice, you can flip to just taking action and just going after what you want. How many people want to take more action in their lives? Right? These are good choices. Instead of controlling and having lots of rules, how many of you want the healing choice of spontaneity and flow? How many of you want to be in flow? Yeah, guess what flow stands for? Following love one way. Ooh. Instead of being guarded and putting up walls, hurting choice. You can choose the healing choice of being open and sharing. Instead of the hurting choice of stalling and overthinking, the healing choice is to surrender and allow. And if you can flip from hurting to healing, here's what happens when you make healing choices. And again, I can help you with this. When you make healing choices, authentic, compassion, action, spontaneity, open, surrender, you feel better about yourself. You're like, look at me go. I'm taking action. I'm being loving to other people and myself. So it's easier to feel good about yourself. But also authenticity, compassion, spontaneity, open, surrender, that's what leads to love. It's what leads to deeper relationship. It's what leads to you writing that book or starting that business or bringing your gifts to the world. So then what happens is when you make the healing choices, good stuff starts to show up. Relationship starts to show up, where the relationships you're in get better and healthier. The bank account fills up. And when all that goodness is showing up, it's easier for you to go, hey, maybe I am good enough. Look at all this good stuff. Look at all the love I got. So what happens is, if you're in a hurting choice, you're stuck in this figure hate. But if you can switch to the healing choices, you get this loop, a never-ending loop of self-loving. So instead of figure hate, you get the figure great. Ooh. I like my little diagrams. Now again, it's not that you don't know that these things are good. It's not that you don't know hurting choices are bad and healing. It's that the simple perceptual technology with practice allows you to upgrade the self-aware, because you stop just mindlessly reinforcing the lie, and over time the lie just updates out of your system. I had a client, and she had, I don't know if it was bulimia and basically she had body dysmorphia. And the thing that she hated about herself was that she had this belly. Now, she didn't have a belly, but she thought she had a belly, and she just would hide it. She didn't want anybody ever to see her belly. And she tried and tried and tried to upgrade her thoughts. She tried and tried and tried to upgrade her actions, but it didn't work. So I showed her this model. She became masterful at switching from her hurting to healing. Her self-aware got upgraded, and about 4 weeks later, she wrote me this email, and she said, Daniel, you never guess what happened. And I wrote her back. I said, what happened? She said, I went to a party. I went, okay. She said, when I went to a party, and my belly was hanging out. I went, cool. She said, I forgot I had a belly. I said, that's great. What happened? She said, this really cute guy walked up to me, and we have a date next week. So she didn't try to change her behavior. She didn't try to fall in love. She didn't try to do anything around her belly. She upgraded the self-aware. She didn't mind her belly. And she started to fall in love. Now, the good news is this technology is very simple, and it works. The bad news is that when I built it when I trained people one-on-one. I would coach people one-on-one, and I would get these borderline miraculous results. But I didn't want to just help people one-on-one. I wanted to really change the world. So I spent about 5 years working with 1,000 clients to create an online version where you can learn the tools. There's a curriculum where I show you how to switch from hurting choices to healing choices to upgrade the self-aware. Because right now you can know hurting and healing, but you already know about this list. The question is, how do we mindfully switch from one to the other? And that's what I train you in. So this is the point in the talk where I try to sell you something. He's trying to sell me something. So I bring this up because I've seen some people like, oh God, here we go with the sale. So I just want to let you know, how many of you are thinking, oh, here's the point where he tries to sell me something? How many of you? Yeah, I understand it. And a friend said to me, yeah, it was annoying when you tried to sell me on something. I said, annoying? He said, yeah, because you're an American. And I said, why is it annoying when an American tries to sell you something? He says, I don't know. It's just extra annoying when Americans do it. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm an American, and if you don't want to be sold something, I totally understand. But I will tell you unapologetically, metaphorically, this self-aware glitch is making everybody sick, and I have a proven medicine. And as you know, when you learn something, you want to share it with the world. So yes, I am effing selling this to you. It's affordable, but yes, I proudly sell water in the desert. So I love that I sell. However, I'm not going to sell it to you right now. I want you to know more about it. I want you to see how powerful it is, and I want you to understand why you would even do it. So I'm going to offer a free masterclass, a training, where I'm going to show you the tools. And you're going to bring your struggle, whatever you're struggling with, bring that to the masterclass. And we're going to go through the tools. We're going to do some exercises so you can really feel how these choices are affecting your life and how switching choices would make your life easier. You're going to see that your life would be improved through upgrading your self-aware. I'm not one of these people that hides the good stuff. I'm going to give you the whole curriculum. The training is the actual gym where you build mastery. That's what the training is. But if you come to the masterclass, you learn the curriculum, you'll get deep insights. So at the end here, I'm going to have a sign-up sheet. Just put your name down in your info and put a little X for the Self-Aware Upgrade Masterclass. If you can't make it, I will try to get you a video. And if I'm not here, I will get you a video. And then at the end, it tries to sell you something, but you don't have to buy it. So if you're interested in the free class to learn about the tools, see how they work, get insights into your life, how you can break that one thing that's been keeping you back, that's totally free. And if you want to buy the training at the end, totally up to you. That's one way I help you. The other way I help people is with one-on-one coaching. The training is beautiful because it can help a lot of people. It's a blueprint to take something massively complex, this thing called self-love, and make it simple, practical, actionable, that works. That's the beautiful of the training. However, it's no substitute for coaching, but I'm not cheap. So I do the online training for people that can't afford it. I'm not cheap, but what I'm giving you a shot at is that one thing or those two things that just keep following you around over and over again, whether it's the anxiety, the relationship, business, whatever that thing is that you know about and you can't evolve, that's what you pay me for. So up front, it's not cheap, but it actually saves you a lot of money instead of spending money on a lot of things that don't help that much. So I do a free consultation, and in that consultation, it's not even a consultation, it's coaching. And you're going to come to me and you're going to tell me, Daniel, here's this one or two things that has just been wrecking me, and we're going to measure it from 1 to 10, and I'm going to coach you. 2 hours of free coaching, and then we're going to remeasure it, and you're going to feel the number drop. You will feel the change happening in the session, and if you want to keep going with me, that's totally up to you. So either the masterclass, the free masterclass, or the free consultation, you can sign up at the end when I leave here. Any questions?
What's your website?
DanielPackard.com. But it's not a very good website.
Packard?
Uh-huh.
Like Hewlett Packard?
Like Hewlett Packard. You can go look, and there's some testimonials, my book and things. It's just not a very good. The best thing, if you're interested, is to come hang.
Is the website not reaching the frequency of you?
Yeah, on some level. The fact is, I like doing one-to-one, and anyway.
Cool, man.
Thanks.
Anyway,
All right. No problem. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to wrap up. You can come up. I'll have a laptop here. It'll be right out front. You can come out. If you're interested in coaching, you can write your name down or come talk to me. It's best to get booked into my calendar quickly because I have a very full coaching calendar. So consultation spots are limited. So I would actually come up to me and I'll put you in the calendar. That's the best thing you can do. I'm going to leave that out there. I'll also be out there, and come talk to me, share me your experience. Yes? Well, that's a good question. So it's an excellent question. The problem is I'm leaving for a month. I know. But it's not because you're not good enough. That's because I had a prior engagement. But I do have it in video form. So if it doesn't work out, it depends on the numbers, if I have time, and if I can find a space. That's why I'm being a little vague. Also, I'm mysterious. So if you're interested, put your name, and it'll either be with me or I'll send you it's basically a webinar that I did. I'll send you a recording of the webinar.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
I don't.
No.
Just in relation to the content that you shared, you said the 6 hurting behaviours. 5 were avoiding and rejection behaviours. What was validation? What category of behaviour is that?
Excellent question. So they're all the hurting. So that's the list. That's the 6. And validation is at the top. So they're all the same. Does that answer your question? What's the specific question?
So you said from 2 to 6
Huh.
is a avoiding behaviour.
Yeah.
So what is validation if it's not an avoiding behaviour?
Well, you're going towards the enoughness.
Maybe more anxious.
So if I feel I'm not good enough, I want you to tell me you like me. I'm going towards you so you'll tell me I'm good enough. It's towards you. The other 6 were, well, what if you don't tell me? Now I'm afraid of rejection, and now I'm avoiding. Excellent question. Okay, so again, I'll put the laptop out there. Sign up for Masterclass, free consultation. I'd also like to just, if this was meaningful to you, if you have questions. I'm also trying to work with nonprofits and schools and prisons. This curriculum works with addiction and violence, self-esteem, it's everything. So if you are part of an organization, a school, prison, UN, any type of large organization that's trying to bring meaningful change to the world, this curriculum can not supplement, help, because it's online, it's very practical, it's not religious, and it can help with a lot of the things that we're struggling with in the world. So come up to me with that. And anything else? Boop-a-doo-ba-doo. Any questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, if you found this valuable, how many of you found it valuable? It was valuable, right? It's valuable. Can just for my own bit of me that likes to be acknowledged, can someone give me one thing they found valuable about tonight? It's a good thing I already feel good enough for that silence would have stung. Okay.
I can share.
Yes.
The upgrading software, so going from the hurting behaviours to the
Healing behaviors.
and I suppose to me it relates to one of the Hermetic principles. It's all on the same spectrum. So the hurting behaviour is a lower vibration, and the healing behaviour is exactly the same category. So it's moving up that vibrational frequency, so it's easier to do as opposed to something that's totally random.
Beautiful. Oh,
So I really appreciate it.
very interesting. Yeah. And again, I'm sure, the hurting choice is everything we're trying to get away from. The healing choices are mostly what personal development and spirituality teach. Open, surrender, compassion. So it's not the power of the choices or what they are. It's that if we can use the simplicity to switch from one to the other, the benefit is really just that we upgrade the self-aware. So the simplicity gives us a chance. So that's neat to know, though. Thank you for that. I like hearing other disciplines through the filter of this, because there's something sort of beautiful and timeless about it, and I like hearing. Thank you. All right.
I think it's called the law of polarity.
All right, let me write that down. Boo. All right. Okay, again, masterclass, free coaching. Oh, sign up out there. Laptop will be out there. Now, one of the principles that I teach, and the reason this model works, is because as you're learning the tools, you do them with love. You don't have to switch to healing. You can just, most of it's through awareness, and through awareness, you upgrade the self-aware. So everything I teach, there's this underlying thing of if you can't do it in the moment, you don't have to. So that we don't use our personal development tools, then fail and then beat the crap out of ourselves. And I bring this up because oftentimes when people learn about the self-aware glitch and the not enoughness, some people are like, oh man, look at all these mistakes I made, look at all these hurting choices I made, oh my God. And I don't want anybody using what I shared tonight to then beat yourself up. If you have the courage to see what I shared with you, which trust me is quite confronting. I'm kind of light and playful. This is heavy stuff. And most of you didn't leave, which I applaud and commend your courage for not bailing, because nobody wants to see this not enoughness. It's so uncomfortable, it's so painful, it's so sad, so I commend all of you for sticking around. And I want you to leave here with a certain appreciation for yourself. So I'm going to give you two options and ask you which you want. Do you want option one? Do you want to judge yourself for believing the lie that you're unlovable? Or option two, honor yourself for having the courage to see the lie to begin with. If you want option two, say, Daniel, I want to honor myself on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Good choice, you guys. You guys are really good. You don't even need my coaching. All right. Do you want to, option one, judge yourself for the pain this has caused you, or have the courage to see the pain and want to do better? If you want to do better on the count of three, say, I want to do better. 1, 2, 3. You guys are incredible. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. You don't even need me. Final one. Do you want to be sad about the emotional prison you accidentally built, or be grateful you know how to escape the prison and get to yummy freedom? If you want option two, on the count of three, say, I'm ready to escape to yummy freedom. 1, 2, 3. Most American thing you've ever said. Thank you so much, everyone, for honoring yourself. Thank you for trying to upgrade your self-worth. Thanks for being here. You're all enough. You're all worthy. I like your frequency. Good night, everybody. You're welcome.